Not all of you are clean, but all of you are loved to the end. Not all of you are clean, but I'm going to wash the feet of every one of you. This is just the beginning now that opens up the heart and mind of Jesus. And, in the next chapter, John 14, he says, don't you guys understand that these are not my words? They're the Father working in me. And so that lets me know what was the Father's attitude towards Judas. Wow. I mean, wouldn't you have thought that he'd have been upset with him? Angry, judgmental? How dare you? Jesus said, this is all I do. I just live out what I'm seeing the Father do. And he was doing that here. There's a lot, I think, that we can learn. Actually, not all of you are clean kind of extends forward to walking down the Via Dolorosa, carrying the cross. And there's people lined up all on the side. He says, don't weep for me. Not all of you are clean. I know that. But I'm not shrinking back. I'm not turning aside. I'm not withholding love. Knowing this did not deter Jesus at all on his path of love and humble service. So when he had washed their feet, including Judas, including Thomas, including Matthew, including John, Thaddeus and James and the rest of the boys. So when he had washed their feet and taken his garment and reclined at the table again, he said to them, do you know what I have done to you? He said to them, do you know what I've done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If I then, the Lord and the teacher, washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. Now, this is the scripture that made me not be able to preach this without having water available. Okay? Because if you know what I did, you ought to also do this for one another. But even as I got closer and closer to service time and I was with the Lord over this thing, talking to him, I think we should wash one another's feet. Because we can. But there's more going on here. Because he prefaced it by saying, you call me teacher and Lord, and you're right. So I am. These were the same guys, if you remember, that he had to bring a little child into their midst because they were arguing about who was the greatest. And he's trying to seal that as he approaches this day. His arrest and his betrayal and his crucifixion and all that. You call me teacher and Lord, and you're right, I am. So if I, the Lord and teacher, if I have washed your feet, if I have served you this way, if I have done this knowing that you are going to betray me, Judas, you ought to do the same. Because these men were going to be released into a calling, into a ministry. And they needed to know that that was one of service. And they also needed to know that Jesus would be with them doing it. Yeah, Richard.
I'm stuck on the clean part. Is it a double meaning that he's talking about here? Is he saying this is to confirm that you are clean, or was it an act of now that I'm washing your feet, you are definitely clean?
I think it was the former, probably. If I remember correctly, looking ahead a little bit, it says you're already clean by the words that I spoke you. And those words weren't just these words. Those were the words on the road to Jericho. Those were the words when he dealt with them when they wanted to call fire down in the Samaritan city. those were the words where he said, "Follow me and I'll make you fishers of men." So I think I don't think that we're talking about a transactional cleanness here. I think we're talking a relational cleanness because of the word. And then as I push myself forward in Scripture, I think it speaks of the same kind of thing where it talks about the bride has made herself clean and white, and that's the righteous. It's the participation in the words, in the leadership, and the speaking of Jesus. But the acknowledgement that just the course of life needs to be touched up. That's my thought.
So Judas is a part of this.
Yeah, he is.
Making him clean.
Yeah.
Which kind of changes things.
It does. Yeah. And that doesn't excuse what Judas did. It doesn't dismiss what he did. But it does make us think about when Jesus had a perfect opportunity to separate 12 men into in or out, he didn't do it. He didn't say, "You 11 are clean, and you, my friend, are not." What he did say, unfortunately, after he gave him the bread and everything, and Satan entered into his heart, he said, "What you must do, go do quickly." Nobody at the table knew what that meant. I don't exactly know what that means. But what I know is that without being ignorant to the problem, without being ignorant to the deception that Judas was falling into, without being ignorant of the reality that, like Jesus said something about kids, another place. He said, "Woe to the one that causes one of these little ones to stumble. It'd be better if he had a millstone put around his neck, like is drawn by a donkey, and was thrown into the sea." Jesus is not ignorant of who we are. He's not ignorant of the stuff in our lives. But he lives with a higher knowledge of the purposes of redemption that he has borne since the foundation of the world. He knows what the Father is doing, and he's doing it. He was about that from the beginning when he cleansed the temple in the beginning part of the Gospel of John. He knows what his Father's doing, and he's doing it with him. And he has extended that life to us. And he's extending it to these men right here. He's setting them up to live exactly that way. And you can jump to the book of Acts and you can see it. That he went about doing good through the apostles in partnership. This is why I thought this was an interesting last look leading up to the weekend, Easter and Good Friday, crucifixion, all that stuff. What's Easter about? What is the cross about? It's about this. It's about Jesus loving us to the end. We turn it into a transaction or a battle and a victory. And it is all those things, perhaps. But that wasn't what was on his mind. That wasn't what was on his heart. If we track this all the way through to the end of chapter 17, he goes, "Well, let's get up and go." And where are they going? They're going across the Kidron Valley. Here comes Judas. Jesus has to help the Roman cohort arrest him. Because when they approached him, he said, "I am," and they fell down. They would have been powerless. He knows what the Father is about in redemption, and he's doing it with us. And I just thought by slowing down and looking at this and realizing what he held in his heart and poured out for these men, including Judas, will give us a better understanding of what the joy was that was set before him that caused him to endure the cross and despise its shame. And so this weekend, as we celebrate or participate in another church or have a family get together or friends get together, whatever, let's not lose sight that he loved these people. And through them, he loved us. And He loved us to the end. And really, the cross, the grave, and the resurrection was not even an interruption in his primary mindset. It was actually a demonstration of it. I feel like I just spoke over my pay grade there. So he says, you ought to also do the same thing. You ought to wash one another's feet. So, for I gave you an example that you should do as I did to you. Truly, truly, I say, a slave is not greater than his master, nor is one who sent greater than the one who sent him. And then he said this, and this is a lesson that I want us to carry. He said, if you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. Bless me, Lord. Okay? Do this. Now, again, that's why I want to have an opportunity if anybody wants to do this. And I feel like I'm hedging or something. I'm not trying to mandate this. I'm just saying there's water here and there's towels here. And I would be honored to wash someone's feet, and I would be honored to have my feet washed if anybody wants to. And I would hope you would want the same. So I'm going to make that open. But I don't want us to think that just this act of foot washing, Americana style, is the fulfillment of the simple thing that's here. What did Jesus essentially give these guys? He gave them a demonstration that even though I know where I came from, the Father, I know where I'm going, back to the Father, to God. And he used the word God there. It's like the most all-encompassing word he could have used. I was willing to serve you at the point of a basic, genuine, real need. Your feet were dirty. And as a result, there was a ceremonial issue, cultural issue. I think we can extend it into that kind of stuff. And I think then that I gave you an example that you should also do as I did to you. A slave isn't greater than his master, nor is the one who is sent greater than one who sent him. Jesus spoke with incredible authority about that because he knew he was sent by the Father. And he's telling us through the disciples, as I am in this world, so are you. I'm sending you into this world. You're going to walk in power. You're going to be able to declare things like you did, Jen, and healing. Don't let that dissuade you from the fact that when you see a need, get up. Get yourself positioned and meet it. Serve. And do it without requiring that everybody be lined up. And if you know these things, you are blessed. Now, let's try to elevate the nature of that word. That doesn't mean you get a check on the righteous side of the ledger. That means that there's something in your heart that leaps because it's been touched by the heart of God. There's something of an assurance of, oh my gosh, I'm loved. There's something that testifies to your worth, your value in the eyes of somebody that matters, who knows you. It's blessing like that. It's not just a righteous step forward. There are some translations that talk about being blessed. They use that word. Kind of cool.